SweepSouth is South Africa's very first, biggest and most convenient on-call ad hoc or regular home cleaning service provider. Many domestic workers are women who were previously denied quality education under the old government. Possibly the only work that they can qualify for today is merely domestic work. Although in almost every transformation initiative across the country, women empowerment is heard from every corner, but this does not seem to trickle down to domestic workers. Well, to help me discuss this further in how SweepSouth helps domestic workers and more, we are joined in studio, very pleased to be joined by the co-founder and CEO of SweepSouth, Miss Aisha Pandor. Aisha, what a pleasure. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Alicia.
I hope you're having a proper Easter weekend.
I'm trying. Always work to be done, but look, we'll get there.
I believe you're bearing Easter eggs for us. So I take this as a great initiative. First of all, I mean, in layman's terms, just explain to us what this whole SweepSouth is all about.
So SweepSouth is an app that we've designed. So that it's a website and an app that homeowners who are looking for cleaning services can use to access those services.
Okay.
What it means on the other side is that domestic workers who are experienced, who vetted by us, and who are looking for work can now find employment through the app. So we're making it easier to connect the two sides together, but we're addressing a number of issues. The one is pay rates. So we're setting pay rates. There's a lot of fragmentation in the domestic work industry. A lot of homeowners don't know what they should be paying.
Yeah.
So we're setting rates that are far above minimum wage, both for the domestic work industry and the proposed minimum wage that will hopefully come into effect this year, as well as above averages across urban areas. So, you know, we're trying to set decent rates. The other thing is obviously addressing unemployment and underemployment. And then lastly, through the fact that we're a big technology company that's growing and that's scaling, we're also trying to address skills building and upskilling for domestic workers, because at the end of the day, there are 1 million domestic workers in South Africa, many of them unemployed and with not many prospects, as you say, for being anything more than that. And we want to address that with the app.
You know, Aisha, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it further. I was going to ask you later on in the interview, but since you've brought it up now, let's discuss it. I mean, with this minimum wage that has been proposed, and you're saying that your sector seeks to even better that, how are you going to counter that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we already are far above both the domestic workers' current minimum wage and the proposed minimum wage for the country. So, domestic workers, because I think they're working in, you know, more of an informal sector, working in homes, those rates are set at above 75%, the rate of minimum wage, the proposed minimum wage.
All right.
And so we are about 50% above the proposed minimum wage nationally, so far above the domestic workers' minimum wage. And the way that we do that is, you know, we're an app, so what we're saying is that you're not able to pay someone, you know, full-time every single day, potentially on our app using our service, but then what you can do is employ someone once or twice a week, and our service takes care of the rest of the time. So you're spreading up, you know, those payments between different customers, and in doing so, domestic workers are going home at the end of the day with more.
With something else in their pockets. That is very interesting. How do the domestic workers then sign up for this or register then,
So we started SweepSouth about 4 years ago, and when we started the business, you know, that was one of the questions for us, is how do we get domestic workers to join the platform?
Because I'm sure the narrative out there is probably that they don't even have access to the digital space that you're even using
and
here,
that was the case 4 years ago, right? So 4 years ago, we, you know, we were on the ground, you know, going in our neighborhood, speaking to domestic workers in our neighborhood where we lived, and asking them to spread the word. Just from those initial conversations, we're still getting a lot of inbound organic interest. So network effects, people talking about this service, high unemployment rates, obviously in, you know, in informal areas, in locations, and so people are talking about a service like ours, and we literally are trying to keep up in terms of demand to get as many people who are applying onto the platform as possible. And then from a technology point of view, it's completely changed. The landscape has changed in 4 years. You know, 4 years ago, people
not on Facebook,
didn't have smartphones. You know, nowadays the cost of smartphones have halved. And yeah, people have, you know, WhatsApp, Facebook are really familiar with, those are apps, so familiar with the concept of using an app, which makes it a lot easier to introduce SweepSouth and our concept to domestic workers.
Aisha, you also mentioned something when we started this interview. You said you guys also work at skilling the domestic workers.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who's sitting at home says, but what kind of skills does somebody who's cleaning and doing that so forth need? What types of skills are you upskilling the domestic workers with? Because we've also seen, I think it's due to the high unemployment rate in the country, we've seen a lot of younger women also becoming domestic workers.
Yeah. We have a lot of applications, which is, for a young woman myself, it's heartbreaking, seeing someone who's finished matric and and applying for absolutely, so there are two parts to the upskilling. The one is working with SETAs to actually skill people in terms of domestic work, but then the other thing, and I think this is more interesting for us, is this phone that you're now using as a way to access work and as a way to communicate with SweepSouth also becomes a tool for you to access other sorts of skills training. So we're designing short courses that people can subscribe to for free, where they learn additional skills. So, basic typing skills, admin skills, and those sorts of skills are things that people
even
can then
driving,
use to...
do you offer like driving
We
lessons?
don't currently
because
offer driving,
know that
but
a lot of people become nannies and you have to go pick up the kids at school.
Yeah,
I'm going to introduce that, Aisha.
We'll see how we can do it. I think a lot of logistics around getting people into cars and all of that. But this is what's so fun about what we do, and for me what's really exciting is that everything's possible, through, you have a big platform, you've reached scale, there are partners who want to help, we've got an amazing reception, and so, when you say something like, would you introduce driving and learner's licenses and driver's licenses, maybe that's something that we can do.
And helpers are driving, and
there's a premium, there's a premium on those skills, so yeah.
All right.
Well, there we go.
Fruitful day, isn't it? All right, so Aisha, just before I let you go, how has your drive now impacted, whether in a positive or not positive manner, the employment, particularly in this sector?
Well, I think the one thing is just addressing levels of under and unemployment. So 70% of people who join our platform were, although they're all skilled, they all have done this type of work before, but 70% were unemployed, 30% underemployed. So just in terms of the 6,000 people who've joined our platform to date, we're making an impact on that. And then we also like to think about impact in terms of not just domestic workers on the platform, but also what that means for their families. And so if you think about it, if all of those are households of around 4 people, that's 24,000 people who've been impacted positively by the platform. And then over and above that, we're helping to set rates. We, again, very fragmented industry. People don't know what decent rates should be, what you should be paying your domestic workers. So we're serving as a benchmark for that. We want to get a lot more involved in that conversation.
That these domestic workers actually suffer at the hands of the people that they work for.
And awful stories in the media about that sort of thing. And so we're also, having support teams on hand who can address those sorts of things. If anyone does get into a difficult situation, at a SweepSouth booking, we have our team who can assist. We can call the police. We can, there are a number of interventions that we can facilitate. So and then obviously the skills building is another big part of it.
So this is certainly a recommendable way for those domestic workers to leave a footprint, so to say.
Yeah.
Aisha, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Best of luck with this great initiative, and I hope you'll come back soon and tell us about more initiatives like that, and hopefully the driver's licenses will be part of that. That was the co-founder and CEO of SweepSouth, and of course she was talking to us about how this app works to help domestic workers find placement in terms of employment. Let's take a quick ad break, and after that, more news.